Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm gonna be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
We are so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Today's guest is BYU's Senior Associate Athletic Director and Senior Woman Administrator, Liz Darger. Thanks so much for being on here, Liz.
Thanks for having me, Lauren.
So February 7th is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Why do you think it's important for people to recognize this holiday?
I think it's a really great opportunity to recognize the neat part that sports can play in the lives of girls and women. And for those that participate in sports, but also those that coach, that administrate, that are fans.
Yeah.
Sports really are a neat part of our community building. And obviously at BYU, sports are a huge part of what we do and what I do. And so to have an opportunity to celebrate specifically girls and women and their unique contributions is really exciting. And we love the opportunity to celebrate this every year. And this year we'll be doing that at our women's basketball game against Baylor at 7 p.m. We'll have some neat experiences and activations for all of our fans pre-game. And we hope that they'll all join us to celebrate this great day and then go cheer on our outstanding student athletes from our women's basketball program.
Well, I'm excited to have you here because I think you're just an incredible example of women in sports and what they can become and what they're capable of. And you've had such a great influence on so many. So we want to talk about you in BYU athletics and the future of women's sports, but we want to start with you and how you got here. Your journey started with you wanting to become a coach. How did you get your coaching start?
Yes, interesting story. So I came to BYU not as an athlete, but as a student. Played a lot of intramurals here. Really enjoyed that experience, and was about to graduate. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with my life, and I was visiting my sister who was playing volleyball at Colorado State. Met a friend of hers, Reagan Scott Peebley, who was coaching basketball there, and was chatting with her about how she got her start in coaching. And she encouraged me to just start coaching somewhere at the high school level. And I immediately discounted that, saying, well, I didn't play college ball. I was an average high school athlete. I don't know that I could do that. And she just said, just give it a try. And then without me knowing it, she called her dad, who had just got the high school job at Timpview High School, just down the road from BYU. And then handed me the phone. And he said, hey, Reagan said I should hire you. And so she really was willing to nudge me and encourage me to do something that I wasn't sure I had the ability to do or the confidence to do. And so I showed up at that first open gym at Timpview High School and fell in love with coaching. And from there, wanted to figure out what I could do to make coaching a part of my life. Went back to BYU, got a master's degree in school counseling psychology to become a high school counselor, and did that and coached basketball at Timpanogos High School for 4 years, and then moved on and coached basketball at Utah Valley University down the road with head coach Kathy Nixon. Did that for 6 years, loved it, and then had the opportunity to come over to BYU to work in administration. And each of those moves wasn't something that I was seeking out, but something I was nudged to consider by somebody that saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. And so, Kathy nudging me to move into the college game, where again, my first thought was I didn't play college ball. I'm barely making it as a high school coach. I don't know that I could do that. But praying about it and then feeling like, yeah, I could do this. And then being at UVU and having the opportunity again to be nudged by Janie Penfield Rasmussen, my predecessor at BYU, who said, hey, I think you should apply for this job. I'm stepping away. I think you should apply. And again, my first thought being I couldn't do that, or I wouldn't want to do that. I don't know if I could be good at that. And then praying about it and feeling like that's something that I should pursue. And really grateful for Tom Homo taking a big chance on me now 8.5 years ago to come over to BYU and work in administration. I love my alma mater. I love working at BYU. I love working in college athletics and having the opportunity to be able to influence young women and young men as they seek to get their education and seek to better themselves athletically and academically and spiritually and socially, and doing it all while representing Brigham Young University and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's just, I feel very fortunate to be where I am and to work with remarkable people like Tom Homo and Brian Santiago and Vice President Keith Vorkink and President Shane Reese and so many others in our athletic department and all over campus that are so supportive of our student athletes and that are supporting us and helping us to, in our little part that we play as part of the bigger campus community.
It sounds like every move that you made pushed you out of your comfort zone. Do you think that's an important thing to do?
I do. Stretching, it's just like stretching muscles. If we want our muscles to become stronger, it takes stretching them beyond what they initially can do. And we all have different stretch capacities in different areas of our life. That's something that President Bonnie Cordon, the former Young Women General President, she taught a lot about as we work with young people. Everyone has a different stretch capacity and different gifts and talents. And while we may have confidence in one area of our life and lack some confidence in another area, but as we learn that stretch capacity and as we do stretch a little beyond our comfort zone, then that does build strength in that area. And I really believe that. I believe that God has blessed us with gifts and talents, but also through God, He can make our weakness our strength. And so, if we always stay in our comfort zone, then there won't be growth. There's no growth in the comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone.
I love that so much. Was it always a goal of yours to want to do something to inspire women, or was that something that came along the way with coaching?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know that I had a whole lot of forethought of what my career would look like. I grew up in Boise, Idaho, and I knew I wanted to go to college. Education was very important in my family, and education for women. My mother is very well educated, went to University of Utah and then Wellesley College, and both of my grandmothers held master's degrees, which was pretty unheard of for their time. So education was important, but I don't know that I'd thought much beyond that. I knew I wanted to be a wife and mother. My mom was and is a remarkable full-time homemaker and mother, and a well-educated homemaker and mother. And I admired that. I knew I wanted that as part of my journey. But I don't know that I was thinking much about a career. I came to BYU and then sort of figured out, okay, what am I going to do next? And so really, I would say I took opportunities as they came, and I found that I really did enjoy working with people and young people. It's something that I feel like even from those first open gyms at Timpview High School, that I was able to connect with young people pretty well and pretty naturally. And I really enjoyed seeing them learn and grow and develop. I loved seeing them succeed and to finally catch on to a new skill or a concept or something they've been practicing. That brought me a lot of joy and meaning. And so I think I really was just going after opportunities where I knew I wanted that more of that feeling in my life, that feeling of meaning from seeing other people achieve and be successful. And so I just sort of took opportunities as they came. There wasn't really an end goal in mind. And honestly, it probably was a little bit selfish because I found that I really loved that feeling of seeing other people grow and develop. And so I wanted more of that feeling and was going to find it however I could.
Each step of your journey took you to becoming the Senior Associate Athletic Director here at BYU. How would you, I know you do so much, how would you sum up what your role is in the athletic department?
I'd say there are probably three main parts of it. And two of them have to do with the Senior Associate Athletic Director part of the role, and the third has to do with the Senior Woman Administrator part of the role. So the first two, I serve as a sport administrator, along with Tom Homo, Brian Santiago, and Chad Lewis. We all serve as sport administrators, where Tom has assigned me a number of sports to essentially be really kind of oversee that sport and help support our coaching staffs and student athletes be successful. And I'm Tom's kind of eyes and ears with that sport and direct liaison with that sport. And so that's a really, really neat, fun part of the job. That's where I get to know student athletes really well and our wonderful coaching staffs and and really being in the nitty gritty of their seasons and what they do. So that's a part of my job. And then another part is I help oversee some of the internal operations, including human resources for the department. I work with Tom and Brian on just overseeing our organizational structure and making sure that our employees have what they need to be successful, and make sure that we have coaching staffs and administration and staff that we have what we need where we need it to help our coaching staffs and student athletes be successful. And so looking at the resources that we are providing, and in the past couple of years heading into the Big 12, we did a huge assessment to look at that and added a large number of full-time positions to make sure we're in a great position to move into the Big 12 position of strength. So that's another large part of it. And then I would say the third part is that senior woman administrator role. That's an NCAA designation that's given to one woman in every athletic department across the country, and with it comes some specific responsibilities from the NCAA. And one of those is to help oversee gender equity for the department, and typically liaison with campus Title IX departments, but then also to be part of the governance structure with the NCAA and for us with the Big 12. And so I serve on an SWA committee with the Big 12, and we largely help oversee the majority of the Olympic sports, so everything but football and men's basketball, and to set policy with the Big 12, to make decisions about scheduling, and so that's another part of the job that I really enjoy, because it helps me to meet colleagues from all over the country and to represent BYU. And that's been the neat these past few years. We loved our time in the West Coast Conference, and I got to know really wonderful colleagues there. And it's been neat to get to know these new colleagues with the Big 12 as we work together. I just got back from some meetings in Dallas where we were working through a lot of the scheduling plans and other plans for these Olympic sports, now that we have these new 4 corner schools coming in next year with Utah, Colorado, Arizona State. So that's become a busier part of the job lately, but it's a part that I really enjoy.
Gosh, you have so much going on. And for those of you listening, she also got her doctorate in June. Is that right? And
Yes.
then you were on the General Young Women's Council.
Yes.
You're a very, very busy woman. So obviously you have so much going on as in the athletic director portion. Do you ever miss being a coach? Like when you get to work with these incredible coaches, these incredible athletes, do you ever take a step back and be like, oh, I missed that part?
It's funny. I get asked that a lot, and I feel a lot of peace with moving into administration 8.5 years ago. And there are different roles. Coaching, the influence and impact you have is so deep with those student athletes. When I was coaching women's basketball with those, 18 or so student athletes, it's so deep. You are with them in the trenches for hours a day, and you assist them with every part of their life. It's a deep impact, and those relationships are strong. And as an administrator, my impact or influence is not as deep. It's more broad, but I really enjoy getting to know the different cultures of different athletic programs.
Yeah.
A women's soccer program has a different feel than a men's cross-country program, which has a different feel than a gymnastics program. There are different cultures around every sport. And I've loved having that variety and the opportunity to still work with student athletes and have an opportunity to build relationships with them, but also to help mentor and support our coaches as well. So, there are times when I might be watching a game and think it might be better to be on the other side and sit on the bench. But then trust me, there are also times where I'm thinking, I'm really glad I'm over on this side of the court right now. And I can cheer and support. Yeah. And so there are great things about both professions, and we need good people and good women all over sports in coaching and administration. And in my time at BYU, that's something I've tried to focus on, is we have really incredible women working all over the department and helping them to see different opportunities throughout the athletic department that they can be a part of. There are some girls and women that love sports but maybe never even played, or played but didn't play Division I or wouldn't go the coaching route. but there's so many ways to be involved in sports. I mean, Lauren, what you do, what I do, like there's so many neat ways to be involved in sport. And so helping women, helping our student employees see a future working in sport, if that's what they choose to do, because we need great women and great men to help mentor and support our student athletes.
I know you've been a role model to so many women. Who've been your role models or mentors throughout your career that you've looked up to and help you become the woman you are now?
Reagan Scott Peebley, who really helped me get my start in coaching, has been someone I've looked up to for a long time. And she, after Colorado State, she was the head coach at Utah State for a while, and then at Fresno State, and then at TCU. And then now she just accepted a position working for the LA Sparks as their general manager. And she is a woman of faith and someone I greatly admire. And Kathy Nixon, the head coach at UVU as well, her care for student athletes, and the balance in her life of keeping the most important things is something I've greatly admired. Shauna Kay, who is a longtime high school coach in the state of Utah, she coached at American Fork and then at Lone Peak High School. She was someone that even as she had retired from coaching when I started coaching at Timpanogos High School, but as someone that was willing to mentor me, she helped me learn how to break down game film, of all things. So, I had no idea what I was doing, and she would spend time helping me learn how to break down game film. She was someone that was willing to mentor me, and we still stay in close touch. And then, moving into administration, Janie Penfield Rasmussen, who's a dear friend, and we've been roommates years before. She's someone that I continually look to and often think of how would Janie handle this situation. And we're still dear friends. Elaine Michaelis is such a hero to so many, and I think of the foundation that she and her counterparts laid for all of us to have these opportunities. I had the chance to visit with her just a few weeks ago and chat with her, and every time I visit with her, I can see why I would have loved to play for her. Yeah. You can see why she just infuses people with confidence. And I think that's a spiritual gift of hers is doing that. So she's been a huge support. Tom Hommel, he is such a great boss and great example of putting student athletes first, and realizing what it is we are doing here, and that we're part of a bigger mission. It's not just about winning games, although we believe in winning. It's about building these young people, and it's about representing BYU. And Brian Santiago, he's like a brother to me. We just his passion and how much he cares about BYU, how much he cares about BYU athletics and the student athletes within it. I love learning from him and seeing how much care he puts into developing his coaches and supporting them and his student athletes. I could go on and on and on the whole time. There's so many people, and then people like Bonnie Corden, who I had the chance to work with when I was serving on the Young Women General Advisory Council for 5 years. She became such a dear friend and mentor, not just in our young women work, but really in my work at BYU, my work in graduate school, and just in my personal life. She's just become a dear friend and mentor of how she has handled leadership, how she handles tough situations, and that she is always about the one. It doesn't matter how many people are in a room or how many people she's speaking to, she finds an opportunity to connect with people one-on-one, and they can feel her love, and that's because it's genuine. It's not fake. She loves people, and I've learned so much from her.
I love that you have such a wide variety of people that you've gleaned things from that have molded you into who you are now. That's got to be a gift of yours, is seeing all the good things and all these wonderful people around you. How do you see the role of women in sports and educational leadership evolving in the coming years?
There's really no better time to be a girl or woman in sport. There's never been more opportunity, and what a blessing that is. I think of the role that sports have played in my life, and it's just been such a blessing for me to learn important lessons and to gain friendships and gain confidence. And so there's never been a better time for girls and women in terms of participating in sport or opportunities to work in the profession or build communities. And I don't see that stopping. You look at nationally what is happening there. I feel like college women athletics in particular is really kind of having a moment right now. And you look at TV, how many people are watching on television. You look at arenas that are selling out for women's basketball, for women's volleyball, for women's soccer, for gymnastics, for softball. It goes on and on and on around the country. I think many people who've been sports fans, but for whatever reason just hadn't given women's sports a try, are giving women's sports a try and recognizing what beautiful game, women's basketball, women's volleyball, soccer, softball, gymnastics, how beautiful it is to watch, to see the teamwork, to see the tenacity, to see it, and so bringing their families and being a part of that. It's exciting to think about, and I don't think that's slowing down. We see that at BYU, and at BYU, gosh, Cougar Nation is so supportive of our women's athletics team, so supportive, and have been for years and years. So in some ways, it feels like the rest of the country is catching up. We get great crowds at home and on the road, frankly, from Cougar Nation all over the country, and so that's been just neat to see that continue. I don't see it slowing down, and we're so grateful. And I would encourage anyone that hasn't yet sort of ventured into that of taking their families and friends and watching a women's college athletics to come see what you're missing and get to know these remarkable young adult women, because they are remarkable. And you watch them compete so hard, and then you watch the way they carry themselves, the way they communicate. You watch they are lovely, thoughtful, wise, kind women that compete so hard. You can be proud of them in every aspect of who they are. So I hope we'll have more and more people give it a chance, and I think they'll find that they'll want to come back again and again and again, because these women are really easy to cheer for.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more from BYU Senior Associate Athletic Director Liz Darger. This is Her Why. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean. We're here with BYU Senior Associate Athletic Director Liz Darger. Liz, how important is it that you as a woman are in the position of leadership in the BYU Athletics Department?
Anytime we're a part of a big organization and we're making big decisions, the more viewpoints we can have, the better in making those decisions. And men and women are different, and we have different backgrounds and different lived experiences. And so, I'm grateful that there are lots of voices that are at the table as we make decisions as an athletic department. And when we look at how many women are a part of our athletic department in terms of participating, and now in our coaching and administration as well, it's wonderful to see that great variety of backgrounds and experiences as we make decisions. And I love that our young women and our young men that are athletes can be influenced by great men and women on their coaching staffs and in administration and in the support staff. I think that makes all of us better. And so to be able to have women really in all ranks of our athletic department, student athletes, coaches, support staff, administration, and student employees. We've got a lot of great student employees. To see men and women all over all of those ranks, I think just makes us very strong, and it helps us all to appreciate the different perspectives we have, and it helps to ensure that we really are providing a well-rounded experience for all of our student athletes, where they can have the perspective and viewpoints and leadership abilities of great men and women all over the department.
Liz, you oversee some very successful sports for men and women. You get to work with some incredible female coaches. What kind of impact have you seen them have on the athletes?
We have some absolutely legendary women coaches at BYU, and some of the things that I've seen that have really, I think, been a theme or a pattern with our successful coaches is that they build relationships with their student athletes. They care about them as people. They care about what's important to them outside of their sport, and they care about them in their sport. They are willing to give them tough challenges, going back to what we talked about of stretching ourselves out of our comfort zone. they believe in them, and they have high expectations for them, and they set a great example of who they are as women of God, and as competitive women, and as compassionate women. They set a great example that our student athletes can follow, and I also think our as we look at our coaches and things I've learned from them as well, is our head coaches. This goes for men and women, truly, but they do a great job of building coaching staffs to bring in people that bring gifts and strengths and talents, so that as a whole coaching staff, they're able to meet the needs of their student athletes. Because again, we all have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
We all have things that come more naturally to us or don't. But our head coaches have worked very hard to round out and fill their coaching staffs with people that may complement their strengths in a way that to make sure sort of that all bases are covered, so our student athletes feel like they have what they need in every aspect from the coaching they're receiving.
Speaking of one of those assistant coaches, BYU women's basketball coach and former player Morgan Bailey said on this podcast a while back that you've seen her grow from a shy ninth grader to a basketball coach. What's it been like watching her develop herself over these years?
Oh, that just it just warms my heart. I'll get emotional talking about it. Meeting Morgan Bailey when she was a shy eighth grader with glasses that wasn't particularly coordinated, and watching her work and gain confidence in skills as a player. And then to watch her as she was at BYU and from afar a little bit, and watch her develop further as a player, and then go off and play overseas, and then come back and coach. And now to see her having an influence on young women, it's a really neat full circle moment. She and I still talk every now and again about situations and what would you do here and how about this, and seeing her. That potential was all in her as an eighth grader, and but to see it come to fruition as a result of, again, her hard work and her surrounding herself with people and situations that stretched her, and now to see her have that impact, that really is the payoff. And that feeling I talked about at the beginning of really enjoying that feeling of seeing people succeed. A story like Morgan Bailey is just. That one just hits me because I love her and I admire her, and it hasn't always been easy for her, and it wasn't always easy for me as I coached her, and we had some rough patches and some learning and experiences that she learned from, and certainly experiences that I learned from that if I could go back I would do differently. But she offered me a lot of grace as a young coach, and I just am grateful that we can still be connected, and I'm grateful that we now have student athletes that get to learn from her and her experience as well.
I love that. I love that you've mentioned throughout this that everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, and one thing I love about BYU is that I feel like they create a great environment that help athletes to grow. How does BYU help athletes do that from your perspective, both on the field and in their studies?
Yeah, BYU is a very challenging academic institution, which is great. We want to stretch and grow, and the life of a student athlete is not an easy one. It is very scheduled out. There's very little discretionary time for our student athletes between practice and and treatments for injuries and preventative measures and strength and conditioning and team meetings and film sessions and marketing things and photo shoots and signing autographs and all the various things. And that, I haven't even mentioned class yet, and class and projects and tests, and by the way, many of them are serving callings in their ward and are ministering brothers and sisters, and you just think of all the different things. And we also, hope they're well-rounded and have good friends and are dating and are having a successful, social life. And so that is a lot that we are putting on them. The expectations at BYU are high, but the resources are also high and the support is also high. We hope those things always match. And we have resources in the athletic department, including in the Built for Life Center, where we have help for them academically. We've got great tutors and learning specialists and study groups and opportunities for them to get that help that they might need. But we also have great support for them in terms of mental health to go along with the importance of their physical health. And so we do everything we can to put people in their life and resources to help them meet those expectations that are set for them, and they respond beautifully. Those student athletes that take advantage of the resources that we have are successful here, and that is through their grit and their hard work and their discipline, and what a great life lesson that is as well. Because I think sometimes at BYU, and I think this goes for students, not just student athletes. When I was an undergrad at BYU, there were times I felt a little bit lost. It's a big place, and I wasn't sure where to go to get help, and I love the initiative that President Worthen started and President Reese continues of inspiring learning, and how do we help every student at BYU have a connection with a faculty member or a staff member or someone to mentor them and help them, because that's all it takes often is that connection.
Yeah.
With our student athletes, we have those built in often with our coaching staffs and with support staff, in terms of their physical health, mental health, academic health. And I'm grateful for that, because I think, our student athletes that take advantage of those resources and get connected to something feel like they're not doing it alone.
I love that initiative so much, that everyone can feel like they have a connection to somebody. And I think that's so important. Liz, you've seen a lot of changes in your time here at BYU, Big 12, new programs. Where do you see BYU athletics moving in the future?
Well, we are thrilled to be a part of the Big 12 conference, and it's been such a neat, we've had a great fall season, and now we're just partway through this, these winter sports and spring sports are starting, and this is exactly what we asked for. And in fact, we call them team huddles once a month, where we have kind of a little mini department meeting. It's just a team huddle. It's kind of brief, and we get to hear about the great things going on in the department. And Tom and Brian both talked about, this is exactly what we signed up for. And we need to remember that in the great times and in the hard times. This is going to be hard. Hard is good. We learn from hard. And so we are really grateful to be positioned where we are in the Big 12. These are great institutions. We are loving getting to know them, and their administration and their coaching staffs and their student athletes and their fan bases. We have felt very welcomed. We feel like we are in a great spot with great institutions. The college athletics world, the landscape continues to change a lot. And we are so grateful that amidst a changing landscape, we have such a sure, solid foundation of being a part of Brigham Young University and sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That helps us. That's our North Star. That helps us to stay grounded and remember who we are and what we're about. And we are grateful to be connected to these great institutions in the Big 12 as the Big 12 navigates the changing landscape of college athletics as well. We want to compete for Big 12 championships. We want to compete for national championships. We have in the past, and we're going to continue to do that in the future. We want to be on the biggest stages where we have the opportunity to prominently promote the values espoused by Jesus Christ, to prominently promote the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And to do that, to be on those biggest stages, we need to be successful. And with all of that, we never want to lose that we want to build young people. And we want to help build them to be ambassadors for good and ambassadors for God when they leave this place and while they're here representing BYU.
It's exciting. Liz, you're incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today and giving us an inside look of all that goes into what you do and what you're doing for the student athletes and even the fans and everybody involved with BYU. Thanks to Liz Darger, Senior Associate Athletic Director and Senior Woman Administrator, for joining us. Thanks also to Annie Robinson and Sydney Simpson for producing this episode. Cleon Wall is the senior producer. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio. You can download and listen to all episodes of Her Why on the BYU Radio app or wherever you find podcasts. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.